What is up, everybody? It's your boy Dirty Rich here, back on the Dirty Rich channel. So I will be doing my Dexter review series. So I am going to be reviewing all 8 of the original Dexter. I just recently finished it. As I'm filming the very first video, I actually finished it the night before the last episode of season 8, and then I will eventually do the other 3 shows, so Resurrection, New Blood, and Origins. But I will be saving those for much later on because, you know, I need to take a break off of watching Dexter for a while. I know I could easily speed run those other ones because all of them have 10 episodes apiece, so I only got 30 more episodes of Dexter still left. Plus, one of the shows did get canceled, so once I watch that, that's it. Which kind of sucks that one of the shows did get canceled, but it didn't make sense having 3 Dexter shows running around instead of having, like, at max 2, maybe 1. But hey, nothing I could do about it. And the main reason why I started watching Dexter was because TikTok has been like blowing up with edits and all kinds of stuff for the original Dexter. One of the Dexter sounds of the show has been all over TikTok all throughout 2025. So I got very curious and I finally sat down and watched it. So today we'll be reviewing season 1 and then we'll continue on. So, getting into the first season of Dexter, of course, Dexter is a show about a man called Dexter Morgan, who is a blood analyst for the Miami Metro, and he's been doing that job for a very long time. He's actually very good at figuring out crime scenes just by looking at the blood patterns, to the point where everybody, when soon as they get on the crime scene and they see blood, they immediately go to Dexter like, "Hey Dex, what you think about this crime scene? Oh, this person got this happened to them because this, and I started building a map to make it a little bit easier for Miami Metro to start figuring out, okay, who did this and who did that, to the point where he is so good at it is that people be wondering, like, how is he so good with this? Especially a character named Dokes, who is a very iconic character, and the reason why I started watching this show because I saw so many edits of him, and you just stared at him like, why is he so good at knowing blood and all this other stuff? But anyway, so, of course, you know, and we also find out, and also in the very first episode, is that Dexter is also secretly a serial killer. He's been killing people since he was 20 years old, and we also learned that he has a strict code called Harry's Code, where he has to follow these specific rules in order to kill anybody, and he must kill criminals that slips through the legal system. So as long as a criminal isn't getting taken by Miami Metro themselves and actually go to jail, he can't to himself, in the code of Harry, able to touch him. And of course, throughout the season, we get our first introduction to a major killer of the season called the Ice Truck Killer. And the Ice Truck Killer is in the season because of the fact that he's going to be very important to Dexter, and he's also trying to reveal the past of Dexter throughout the entire season. Of course, in these videos, I'm not going to reveal who the main killer is, so I'm not going to be like, oh, well, it's this person, this person, this person. I'm going to try not to, but there's going to be some season where I have to talk about specific characters, but like I said, I'll try my best not to reveal who the main killer is, but I'll talk about characters that might have to do with the main killer, like they're in their storyline, but you guys get the picture. So basically now Dexter throughout the season is getting breadcrumbs of who is this killer and why is this killer specifically going after Dexter himself. Of course, we also get introduced to so many other characters like Angel Batista, LaGuetta, Dokes, it's his Dexter's Dr. Sister Debs, Dexter himself, and so many other characters. For this one, I'm only going to talk about specific characters, only for the fact of this show, a lot of the characters slowly, as the season go along, started to lose like relevancy. Like some characters will be important for a certain season, and then other characters start dropping off. The only character that's always going to stay consistent throughout the storylines, no matter what, is Deb and Dexter. They're the 2 main characters of the show, and every season they always have something to do in their plots and stuff like that. But what I love about this season is that we get introduced to everybody, and we're slowly getting their characters. And that's what I love. The other great thing about the first season of Dexter is actually the mystery of who's the Ice Truck Killer. Because throughout the entire show, throughout this entire season, we're trying to figure out why is this Ice Truck Killer know Dexter's dark secret of him being a serial killer, and why is he not just going to the cops or something going to Miami Metro themselves and just blowing the whistle on Dexter being a killer, because he can easily find all the evidence he needs to expose Dexter. Of course, the season does explain it, and I really love the Ice Shark Killer as the main killer because of the fact the person is so important to Dexter that it's crazy, and I love the person's plot throughout the entire season, and that's why this is such a great season. And I really just love the way that they do the show. It feels like it's one of those typical um, detective shows you would see like at SVU and all this other stuff. But I do like the twist that one of the main people searching for these killers and stuff like that is an actual killer himself. That's why Dexter is able to easily figure out certain things. But that's what makes this first season so great. It's just so many great things about it. Okay, let's get to the character portion of the video. So we're talking about the characters. So let's get into, of course, our main character, Dexter Morgan. So Dexter Morgan is, of course, a blood spatter analyst for the Miami Metro. And basically, he's been doing this job for an extremely long time. We find out throughout all of season one that Dexter was taught how to become basically had the analytical skill of a cop thanks to his adoptive father, Harry Morgan, and he basically took Dexter in when he was really, really young. Once a travesty happened to him, so Harry ends up taking him in and raised Dexter as his own. Eventually, Harry and his wife end up having Deborah, his adopted sister, and they end up forming a family. But Harry figured out very quickly that Dexter had a dark side about him. He had the making of a serial killer, so instead of just trying to do a bunch of different ways to try to stop Dexter, he ends up creating a code that Dexter has to use in order to kill certain people, and he must kill only bad people, which ultimately brings Dexter into the modern age where he's been killing people for well over a couple of years, and to the point where he got his style down to a science, and to the point where he's so good with blood spatter that in Miami Metro they always go to him for like, hey Dexter, we need you to figure this out and figure that out. Well, because he's a serial killer. And of course he eventually do figure out who each individual killer will be. But the thing I love about Dexter in the first season is that we are getting to see how he's trying everything in his power to like try to hide everything, hide his serial killer life, to the point we see him with a girlfriend named Rita. We could see him with his sister Debs, and also the other Miami Metro PD. While he's trying everything under the sun to keep himself normal and trying to keep up to Harry's code, but because of everything that had to do with the Ice Truck Killer throughout this season, it ends up completely changing Dexter as a character throughout the entire show. And I love the dynamic between him and eventually the Ice Truck Killer, Debs, and so many other characters in the show. And my personal favorite is his interaction with Dokes throughout the entire time they're around. Of course, next character we're going to talk about is Deborah Morgan. Debs is, of course, Dexter's younger sister by adoption. She is Harry's biological child, and Dexter ends up help raising her since the time she was a little girl all the way up until she was there. She managed to go up on her own, and throughout the first season, she's trying to get into Miami Metro because she's been working for Vice for a couple of years, and she's very tired of it. She's just tired of the hustle and bustle of that. She wants to do more of actually solving crimes in this way, solving murder crimes and stuff like that. And she's ended up becoming a pretty good rookie just starting out. But of course, as the series goes along, she will become better and better. And I love her relationship with Dokes. Dokes end up taking her under his wing, and they create such a great friendship slash mentorship. And that's definitely one of the relationships I really love. I love her relationship with Dexter. How Dexter treats her like this angel of a person because of the fact that Debs keeps him more grounded in the human realm, because she keeps him more like a regular person. He needs to act normal instead of just being on with his serial killer mindset, and that's what I really like about her. I like that she's a no nonsense, foul mouth person. That's one of my favorite aspects about her. And of course, she's gonna play a bigger role as the series go along. And I even like her relationship with 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 many characters in here. There's a specific one, but I can't spoil that one that I really like, and it's gonna play a huge effect on Dev for the rest of the show. Next, of course, we got my boy, the reason why I watched Dexter in the first place, and that is James Dokes. Dokes is the reason why I started watching Dexter because I saw so many edits of him, and I'm like, who is this guy? And then I watched a few clips of the show, and then eventually I watched the actual show. And Dokes is, of course, is a no nonsense sergeant. He plays by the books, and he's been doing this job for a very long time. And he was originally a partner of the lieutenant, Lagueta, and of course, she got ranked up into lieutenant. He got ranked up as a sergeant, and he's one of the only few people at Miami Metro that actually has an inkling that Dexter might be more than what he's letting on. He could kind of tell like Dexter is faking his persona and everything. And I like throughout this season we get to see a little bit of that, even to the point where he kind of breaks the fourth wall in a sense. But I like that he is also very analytical. He's able to figure out crime scenes and stuff just as good as Dexter. And I love the rivalry between these two characters. And I just love his personality, how he seems very serious, but he does care about his entire team. He'll do anything for his team. He'll go to bat for them anytime. The next character is Angel Batista, who ends up becoming Deb's partner in a much later season, but also is one of Deb's mentors throughout the entire show. And I love his relationship with everybody, how he has a great friendship. He's also a no nonsense cop. He's a little bit more laid back, but he does play by the books. He wants everything to be done by the books. And I just love his personality. He's just a very fun character. And we get to go through his storyline with his ex-wife and so many other things that goes on throughout the season. I love his friendship with Dexter and so many of the other characters. He's just such an interesting character. He's going to get more storylines as the show progresses, obviously. The next character we're going to talk about is Rita. Now, Rita is, of course, the girlfriend of Dexter. Of course, we found out that they met through Debs, and we found out that she was going through a lot of situation with her ex-husband, who will play a part in this season. And once we get really into why she act like that, it makes a lot of sense. And I like that her relationship with Dexter is, of course, it's a little messed up at first because he's using her to just have a normal life, so this way people don't expect anything. But he ends up growing to generally like Rita as a person because Rita is very understanding, and of course Dexter just eventually grows more to caring for her as a person, and of course he helps with her situation with her ex-husband Paul. And I really love that. And I also love that, she is a good mother to her two children, Aster and Cody. And I just really love how they did her in this season. Of course, in the later seasons, she will go more up and down, just like Skylar White from Breaking Bad, but not as bad in my opinion. But she's not a bad character. I really do like her, and I like that she is the light in Dexter's life since he mostly has to live in darkness because of what he does. But I like that he does try not to tell her everything about her. She's just such an interesting character, and I love her story. I like her storyline, and I like the way her storyline ends for the season. Of course, there will be more towards the character in a much later. And the last character I will be talking about is Maria Laguenta. Maria, throughout the entire season, she's like, of course, is trying to get the numbers up. She's trying to knock out cases and stuff like that. And she's also always going to back for Dexter because you find out that she has a little crush on him. But she realized that Dokes had a deep hatred for Dexter. So every time to get into it, he's always going to her to like, hey, Dokes is really getting on me. Can you get him off my back and stuff like that? And she always tries her best to be there for her team. But you could definitely tell she's more on the political side of the police force. She really wants to rank up to captain, but of course she's still struggling with that because she has to deal with Matthews, who is a friend of Harry's and also knows Deborah and Dexter since they were kids. Be a good boss, but also trying to get stuff done. Sometimes she does clash, and my biggest issue with her, and it kind of mellows out a little bit more in the later seasons, is that she is very by the numbers to the point where she wants everything to be done to the point where she doesn't really give her team a lot of leeway on certain things. She's like, no, we need to close this now. We need to do this. We need to do that. And I'm glad that Dokes and so many other characters calls her out of it. Like, hey, we're trying our best to catch this killer and everything, but it's going to take us some time. We still got other cases and stuff we gotta do throughout all of this. But she is an interesting character, and she's gonna play a major part much later on in the show. But that's all for the character portion. Overall, to wrap up the Dexter season 1 video, I really enjoy this show. I mean, there are so many great